Good evening and welcome to Naturally. Today we have an amazing show. I have two fantastic guests. I have author Claudine Dewberry and poet and Womanhood Academy CEO Eve's Envy. Hello ladies.
Hi.
Welcome to Naturally.
Thank you.
How are you?
Great.
Very well. Very happy to be here.
So, let's get started.
Let's do.
So let's first tell the audience a little bit about yourselves and what you do. First we'll start with you, Claudine.
Okay, so my name is Claudine Dewberry. I'm the CEO of an organisation called Taking Positive Steps Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
We work with children and young people in schools, in the pupil referral unit, those who are on the borders of being excluded from schools. We kind of run parenting classes, parenting support groups. We support parents in schools. You know when you know your child is going through something and you know that exclusion's coming, but you just don't know what to do?
Exactly.
Taking Positive Steps will come in and kind of do it with you, do that journey with you to make sure that you got the best outcome for your children and young people.
And decipher what it is they're saying, because there's a lot of jargon, isn't
There's
there?
a lot of jargon, and I think that's where they catch parents, because you know they talk about off-rolling. What does that mean?
Manage move.
Manage move. What does that mean?
Which is just an exclusion, guys.
Exactly.
But,
you know,
yeah.
they talk about an alternative provision. What does that mean? And that's how they catch parents out. And parents need to do a lot more investigation. You know, parents need to engage more. I think parents kind of fail their children. We fail because we give our children to the education system and we step back expecting the education system to do the best for our children, and that's no longer the case. I don't know if that was ever the case really, but it definitely isn't the case now. So we kind of do that. What else do? We run training courses for children and young people. So we've got first aid course, which is called Mini Medics, Learn to Save a Life with a Hand.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And we've trained over 200 young people how to save a life with a hand. And we kind of go in and we run it in colleges, we run it in communities, we run it in schools. And when you show them very simply, you can use your lanyard and tie a wound and stop it from bleeding and kind of, you know, save that person's life. They're just like, wow, how do you do that? You know, a lanyard and a pen is a very important tool when you're walking down the road and somebody may have been stabbed, you know. So we run that for children and young people. And we've also got a prison program that we run from several prisons. So yeah, we're quite a busy organisation.
You sound extremely busy. You're doing so much. And what about you, Eve? Eve's Envy, shall I call you Princess?
Princess
I'll
would
call
be
you
good.
Princess.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Eve's Envy is my Insta name, but Princess is my name.
Okay.
Yeah, my name. But so I'm a co-director of Womanhood Academy for girls. We've basically set up shop in Middlesex University just recently. So we've expanded and we offer services we've extended the age range now. So it's 8 to 25-year-olds. Much like my sister over here, we're doing empowerment, support, and we don't just support the young girls, we support the parents as well. So it's nurture the nurturer, because a lot of healing still needs to be done with parents, and we're expecting them to meet their children's needs and heal their children and help them along their journeys while they're still struggling with theirs. So I think it's quite important to acknowledge and support them throughout their journey as well.
A lot of parents haven't been parented, and I think you'll find the generation where, I don't know, I think my parents' generation, a lot of people were married, you had to secure unit, and then as the generations go down, it changes, the dynamics change.
Massively.
So some of those people haven't been parented and they've had children, and then now those children have had children, and it does have a massive impact.
Exactly, and that's what we're trying to kind of get to grips with at the moment and get to the bottom of, so we can just set a healthy foundation for the next generations. You know what I mean?
Can you tell me a bit more about the Womanhood Academy? Because I've heard of the Manhood Academy and the Womanhood Academy, but tell me a bit more specifically about the Womanhood Academy and
so
how that...
Womanhood, we've been established for about a year now, or just over a year. Manhood, you probably heard more about because they've been going for, I think, over 3 years now. So we're kind of catching up to them, so to speak. We basically want to provide for young girls, not just young girls, but young women. We call them young queens, a village kind of community network for them. Because I feel that's really lacking right now, because we're saying our children are lost. I hear a lot of people crying out the children are lost, they have no guidance, etc., they have no respect. And I feel that, well, we feel that that has a lot to do with the lack of foundation and village feel, so to speak, because I don't know about you, but growing up, I always had like aunties that weren't really my aunties, or uncles that weren't really my uncles, do you know what I mean, that had such an input in my life. And I feel that that's lacking. I'm not sure what it is, if it's society's pressures. I mean, we don't want to blame anybody, we just want to get to grips with what the issues are and provide that support network. And sometimes, although we roll out all of these programs, we do confidence, entrepreneurship, we do so many things with the girls, I think the basic foundation is actually just being there and having somebody there for them. You've had a rough week at home, you've had a rough week at school, come in on Saturday, offload to us in a safe space with us, and also the sisters, we call them their sisters, the group of girls. So like, tell your sisters, if you can't tell us, the facilitators, and you know, tell your sisters, tap into each other, support each other. So that's basically the foundation of Womanhood Academy, what we're trying to provide for these young girls, to just empower them and support them throughout their journey, because you know, there's a lot missing from these children's lives at the moment. And I think instead of blaming them, providing a nurturing environment and solution focused, as you were mentioning earlier, approach, I think, is the way forward, and that's really what we're striving for.
I think for young girls it's so difficult. They don't know where they're supposed to be these days. Are you supposed to be this bad bee? It's like, what are the messages? I've been saying I'm going to write this poem for so long, but I've started writing bits and pieces. But for the young girl growing up and taking in the media, where is it I'm supposed to be?
Right.
It's not really about, you know, back in the day it was wait to get a husband and wait for this, wait to lose your virginity. Now it's like, I need to lose my virginity now because everybody's doing it, and the song's saying I need to be a bad bee, and this one's saying whoa, do you know what I'm saying? There's always...
And you touched on something so important. Social media is a huge part of these children's lives. I don't think people really realise how massive the impact is on the children from social media. The pressure is real. We've got children like killing themselves because of lack of communication. They feel X'd out on social media. They just feel like they can't live up, or they don't have what other people have. Their living standard isn't the same.
Their body, everything.
Positive body image
so
is
hard.
something again, that we touch base with the girls about, because you'd be so surprised how many, I'd say 80% of the girls that I speak with are not happy with their body image, and that is massively to do with the pressures placed on society and social media specifically. And I think we need to take more responsibility for what our children are being surrounded by. Exactly, and it's about parents really recognizing that as well. I know it's difficult being a mum of a teen myself. It's rough. You can't really keep them off social media if they'll find ways to access it.
And another important thing that parents aren't really aware, when parents say, I want to look at your phone, social media, they might look at Facebook, and they might look at Instagram.
That's it.
There are like 650 apps that I will have no idea. Well, I'm quite savvy, but there's still a whole load that you don't know that this app, like Triller and this one and that one.
That's right.
There's a lot of things.
And then also the impact on the boys as well. With media, like I find girls are more the physical aspects, whereas boys more taking the output and how they behave. They're taking the music. music, what they should be wearing. I think girls,
what they should be looking like,
what
how
they should be
be
looking, how should they
behaving.
sounding, how many girls they should have, tings or Jeans or whatever it is they're calling them now. And there's such a massive conflict there, and it's like so much going on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely, yeah. So that's basically what we address in our programs. Actually, we try to keep it as relatable as possible, and deal with any real life issues that they may be experiencing and have nobody to speak to. Because although we say, you know, we do encourage them to have that relationship with their parents, sometimes, as you know, it just doesn't happen. It's difficult to have. They go through puberty, all different hormones going on, all different changes, and their parents might not be their favourite people, so we are there to kind of bridge that gap and kind of support them, to provide that safety net.
Somebody's doing an amazing job, both of you are. So would you tell me a bit more about how you managed to, like, your journey into being the service provider? I know you are the author of the book Guns, Gangs and the Implications of Social Workers. That's how I first came into contact with you, because you were there talking about your book, and I was so touched. Everything you were saying, I was sitting there like, that's so true. And I wasn't going to perform the poem. I'm going to
that day,
today, but I thought no. And I think when I stood up and I said, "Oh, actually, I'm working the Peru," I saw your face like, she's one of them. And then when I did the poem, she's like, "Oh, no, she's not one of them."
She's not one of them. I think my journey's been quite a long one. I first entered the social work field many years ago. I think it was back in 1990 when we had the residential social care homes, where they were the group homes where we used to put a lot of our looked after children, and that's where my journey began. And I worked there for a while I had little children. You know, it was trying to find that job that kind of fitted in with your lifestyle, and I kind of went from the residential to the mother and babies and the leave-in care, but I kind of stayed within that circle. And then, you know, you get so engrossed in what's going on, and you kind of look at the people at the top and kind of feel like, but what you're doing, I can do too. So very soon I was like, right, I need to go off and get some qualifications, because I need to acknowledge that when I first went in as a residential social worker, although they called it that, there was nothing social work about it. It was basically a parent looking after children in a group home. So I went off and kind of got qualified. When I first went to uni, I wanted to do the social work course, but I applied too late and Middlesex wouldn't take me. But what they did say was they started up a criminology course, and they wanted people to go on criminology. So I went off and I did the 2-year criminology. It was excellent, and I did it with Professor Jock Young, who we know now is one of those big professors out there doing a lot around criminology. And after I'd done that, I kind of decided, okay, what do I want to do with the criminology? There was not a lot you could do with it unless you were going to go into forensics. And I really wanted to stay in line and working with children, and children who were being looked after by social care, those who were involved in the criminal justice. So I took it and I went off and I did a law degree. And that kind of landed me in the law. But UK law is very restrictive. And the one thing we do is we want to know what's the crime, how we can help you to get out of it, and that's the end of the story. Nobody looks at what brings you here or what's going to happen afterwards. So law very quickly was a no-no for me, because that didn't allow me to kind of engage enough with. So then I went back and I did my social work masters, and I worked for a while within the social work setting, but I didn't want to do area social work. I wanted to be in youth justice, so I went off and worked as a court remand social worker, and that really did it for me, because seeing the amount of our children that were coming through the youth justice system, and you know, a lot of people, there was a perception that a lot of the children who were coming through the youth justice system were children who were coming from single parents, and that is just such a lie, because so many children are coming through 2-parent families, but you're still in the youth justice system. You know, there's this thing about a lot of children who are excluded from school are coming from single parent families. That also is such a lie. You know, so I did all walks of life. So I did that for a while, and I got caught up with a few young people within the remand system, and I just thought we were so failing them. And one of them I wrote about in my book. I think 2 of them actually wrote about in the book, but you know, as we do, we change the name and we kind of tell their story and their journey. Because for me, especially one particular young man, he kind of helped to paved the way of why I wanted to branch out on my own, because I felt as a social worker within the system, as I call it, yeah, there's too much red tape. We're too restricted. You know, your job is to do this, and do this, and do no more.
Yeah.
But why are we not thinking outside of the box? If we can think outside of the box and save that one more life, why are we not doing that? So I decided, yeah, enough was enough of that. And so I went off and I set up TPS. And as I said, I used him or his journey as a stepping stone for doing TPS, because for me, I saw a young man who was bullied at school, a young man who was excluded from the education system, a young man that got caught up in the youth justice system. But before we even got to this, I saw a young man who was suffering from trauma, and it was a trauma that was caused within his own family. Now, we don't like to acknowledge that a lot of us have gone through traumatic childhoods ourselves, and then we have these children and we haven't done our own healing. So are we now passing on the trauma to our own children? So this was a young man who'd been through a lot of trauma himself, and when I first met him, you know, it was that kind of, I'm a bad boy, I'm not going to engage with you lot. And by the time he went to Fulham and realised Fulham is not the streets, and you've got to be able to hold your own, so it's either you're a bad boy or you're not, we very quickly saw a different side of him. And in 2007, this young man tried to commit suicide in Fulham. Wow. And he was the closest that Fulham had come to a successful suicide in many, many years. And you know, even then working with him, it was a good thing, because I have to acknowledge that within the youth offender team, my manager was actually excellent. She was one of those people who acknowledged that you needed to think outside of the box in order to get the best result. So with him, I was able to tap outside the box, bring in other things that we may not have done if I was in the area offices, and get him through whatever he was able to go through. And then, as I said, you know, having had him sentenced and knowing that he was going to be okay for a little while, I decided, yeah, I've had enough of him. So I started the journey on taking positive steps. Taking positive steps first started as a consultancy, and then we moved into the resettlement of young offenders. But I realised that the resettlement of young offenders, if I went back to the beginning, i.e., could I work with those who are being excluded in order to become offenders? Maybe we could reduce the number of offenders. So we went from being the consultancy to being Taking Positive Steps Foundation, which is now a charity. And we do a lot more work within the schools. And what we call it is working with the schools to do a community impact assessment. So what we're saying to them is, if you exclude that child from school, you haven't taken into account how it actually is going to impact the community, how it's going to impact not just that young person, but how it's going to impact the wider family. Because then what has mum got to do? Do we leave that child at home alone while we go to work? Well, now we're definitely busy social services. And if we don't leave that child alone, now we're going to have to give up our job while we sort out that child. So now we're unemployed. You're not entitled to any benefits because you've made yourself intentionally unemployed. So now you're thinking about your mortgage, and you're thinking about your other children, and you're thinking about your rent, and you're thinking about your food, and you're thinking about your bills. And before you look around, it's all spiraled out of control. So that's what we're saying to schools. We need to think about the community impact that happens when you exclude a child from school. And then we think, okay, that mum has taken the decision that, you know what, there's more than just this one child. So actually, I am going to go to work, and I'm going to leave you at home, and I'm going to check in with you every so often. But that child's going to get lonely. So now I'm going to go out on the streets and look for the company of who else is not at school. And then they're
group, and then they're outside
to the whole system. And if not, then we have the children who are excluded from our mainstreams, and they end up in the PRU, which is your area. And then we know that, once again, they're groomed in the PRU. They're taught a whole different life in the PRU. But also, a lot of the time, once they end up in the pupil referral unit, they never end up going back to mainstream. This is it for me, because you know, parents are given that kind of
what they're sold is that, you know, you can get referred back into school, and a lot of the time, like you say, once you set foot into the PRU system, there's no way out. And it's, do you know what? I think this is a good time for me to read the poem, because it kind of covers that.
Yeah.
And then we can go back in. That's my phone. I haven't learnt it, guys. My poetry fans. I'm going to be reading this today. But yeah, it's a trap a lot of the time, and parents, because my provision is after PRU. So after they go into our units and they can't function there, and they've got nowhere else to go, they will send them to me. And mine's like half, like you get morning sessions, afternoon, so they're not, you know, they're still not getting, which is, I'm sure you would have something to say about that.
Well, exactly, because as we know, the PRUs, they're on what I call a reduced timetable. So that's where I say what the government is doing is the government has created a two-tier education system, because we've got those who are educated in mainstream and will most probably, hopefully, come out with exams, qualifications. They'll go on to college, they'll go on to uni, they'll go on to an apprenticeship, they'll go on to do something. But those who are in the pupil referral units, that's never the case, and they're educated, some of them between 9:30 and 2:30, and what is the chances now? At the moment, I'm based in the pupil referral unit in Haringey, and I must say they do a lot of good work with the children and young people in there, and we do refer children back out into mainstream. But what we notice is that a lot of the children who go back out into the mainstream never really settle. So before they're back out into the mainstream, they're back in the pupil referral unit again. So that's also a part of the work what we do. What we do is, once we refer them back out into the mainstream, we track them back out into the mainstream. So we kind of accompany them, we buddy them, we work with their parents to kind of create that stability that keeps them there. But what you notice is, and you will know that, once they've been in the PRU, they've got that label. So when they go back into mainstream, they're never given that chance.
And that's something that I say to them, my students. Being in this setting doesn't define you. And a lot of the time they've got this attitude, because they get very institutionalized once they're in there. Oh, weird, you know, this is a, like this, I can't say the name of my school because they'll chase me down and probably sue me. But like they will say, this is a PRU, this is how we behave, and they don't seem to understand that you're almost setting yourself up. Yeah, but they're living up to the picture that's been painted, created. You know, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is what you said we are. This is how you said we behave. And so this is how we're going to behave. So that's a lot about it. But also, when, as I'm saying, when they've gone back out into mainstream, the mainstream will now treat them like that. You know, you've been out into the pupil referral, you've got this label, this is how you behave, you have no conduct. And very quickly, not only has that child or young person got that label, but the parents have got that label as well, because your label as a parent that can't control your child, who doesn't manage your child's behaviour, who has allowed your child to get here. But as you were saying earlier, is it something about society? Is it about the system? Is it about the fact that we've lost that team, that village around the children? Because as you said, when we were younger, we were brought up by the aunties and the uncles. Forget the fact that they weren't blood. A lot of the times we didn't know that they weren't blood until we got to big ages. An adult could come up to you and say something to you. Like, I had a friend the other day, he phoned me, and he's like, he saw my son on the train. And he said he was in a different area, so that's the kind of thing. He went up to him, hi, what are you doing here? And he's in a position to say, what are you doing here? Like, he phoned me and everything was fine, so we didn't send him home or take him home. But in this day and age, it's rare. You could go up to a child and say, "Yo, what are you doing?" And you could get told to.
Yeah, I think a lot of adults are scared. Yeah, a lot of scared.
But you see what happened? Isn't that about our parenting? Isn't that about
having respect
the values that we've given our children? Because you know, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and she was saying, "Remember when your mum's friends used to come around and you couldn't sit in the sitting room and look in their face and get involved in their conversations?" Now, a lot of parents in this day and age are friends with their children. So you've lost that boundary. So not only the children get to an age where they no longer have that respect for you, they don't have the respect for the elders outside of your front door because you haven't taught them that. The values and the respect, the manners, the please, the thank you that we were brought up with, a lot of the children now don't have it.
I think it's our responsibility as well to provide them with something to respect as well, like being around, like setting that example, providing that, because I know my aunties and uncles were very present. They were very involved with me. What are you up to? Even call me. You know, when they have that talk to you before they talk to your parents, you're like, no, I don't want to pick up the phone. But you have to have that talk with them. What are you doing at school? How's it going? Etc. etc. Whereas these days, I've noticed a difference, a huge difference actually. As you say, the way they relate, the way adults are relating with particularly teenagers, in my experience, are completely different to when I was growing up. Like, I do have some people around me that I've had to have a word with, like, you know, my daughter, she's still a child. She shouldn't be privy to the types of conversations that you're trying to have with her. That's not appropriate. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I feel like we also need to take that responsibility and really not be so caught up with ourselves and the rat race, because I don't just blame, there's no blame here, but society does put a lot of pressure on us, a lot of pressure on us, and sometimes we lose sight of things that are very, very important and the difference that we can make. We're too busy trying to keep our heads above water that we're not looking around us enough, I feel, from my experiences. So, and inputting something so simple as, oh, let me come and get your child for an hour or two. Let me just take them out and like just have a chat with them and take them for a little drink or ice cream or some food or something like that. It makes a huge difference, because that opens up another avenue for that child to say, oh, my mum's getting on my nerves, I can't speak to her, I can't speak to dad because he's going to tell me off, but I remember Uncle so-and-so did take me out and they said they're going to be there for me, so what I'm going to do now is give them a call instead of go to my friends or run out the house, etc., etc. You're creating another pathway for them, and I feel like we need to do that, because it's getting out of control. We're literally handing our children over to either the streets or social services, and I feel like we need to be a safety net for our children.
Someone to help decipher.
But that's where we talk about the family around the child. That's why we talk about the community, the village around the child. But we've got to give each other permission to be that parent to our child. You know, it's like your friend took the decision that actually I'm not so sure you're supposed to be here. But before
he feels he's got that position,
but you've given him that right. You know, a lot of parents ain't giving you that right anymore.
Why do you think that is?
Well, that's a very good question. Why do we think that? Because, you know, our parents, friends, were able to tell us off, as you said. So. Our parents' friends were able to call us one side. As adults now, we often have that laugh of, you know, if you were walking down the street and you saw your parents' friend, or you wouldn't be too loud on the bus, so you wouldn't be in that shop creating that habit, because we knew. But nowadays we haven't given each other the authority to, you know, tell off our children. And when I say tell them off, I mean, I suppose a lot of parents don't want you to talk to their children in a harsh way. So you've got to be respectful to.
You're worried about how they're going to respond. Exactly. If I say to your child, "Yes, don't do that," and then they go back and then the mum's going to have a go at me, people will be like, you know what? Let me just leave people to their business. And I think at a young age as well, because I think that cracks in more earlier. If you are, so back in the day, like a young child, like a niece or a nephew that I saw that it was mine, they'll grip them up like, you sit down there, don't move. Whereas now you might get the mum looking at you like, no, it's fine, it's my child, I'll discipline them. And it starts at that kind of age where I'm not in a position to discipline them as a 3-year-old. So by the time they get to 16, 17,
but it's not even 16, 17. I always say to parents, guess what? You know, we've got the toddlers who throw a tantrum. So you're making excuses for their behaviour when they're 3 and 5. You're making excuses for their behaviour when they're 8 or 9. by the time they get to 12, they're making excuses for their own behaviour. But they've learned what you've taught them.
That's something
to
I've
make
had to
excuses for their behaviour.
I've had to learn that. I've had to learn that because with my I have 2 children. I've got one daughter that's going to be 15 next week and another one who's 2.5. With my eldest daughter, I felt very protective over her. She's got a very unique personality. Like she's an amazing child, but she's very strong-willed, and she's not a conformist, which isn't bad. But certain times in life, you need to know when to conform, such as in school, etc., etc. Now, and this does. She's in a predominantly white school, and I was very aware of certain prejudices and stereotypes, etc., etc. So I was hyper vigilant of labeling, etc., etc. So when she would do certain things, I would first and foremost come in of the approach that, are you treating her equally? Is this fair, etc., etc. And then if she had done something wrong, it would be at home that I would deal with that. And what it taught her to do was navigate the system very well, and she became very savvy in that. Yeah. And not only the system, not only at school, she took that skill set and applied it. Right, exactly. Yeah. So I had to look at, where she learnt this? Why is this happening? How come she's not taking any responsibility for her behaviour? She's always got a reason. She would do something blatantly wrong, and she will always have reasoning behind it and expect for whatever has happened for it to be resolved, because that is what I had taught her. I taught her that no matter what you do, because I've always worked in schools and I've always worked with children, I do have some certain skill sets and knowledge and how to navigate things. So she now became reliant on me to smooth over whatever mess she had made. So I've had to actively recondition her, take responsibility for my part to play in it as an enabler, because that's exactly what I was doing. And what you say is very true, because even my brother would say to her uncles that, would be talking to her about certain things, because I had my own feelings about a man talking harshly to a young girl, my own feelings. I would sometimes, like you say, intervene and say, no, don't you know? I'll handle this.
My child,
My mum, that's how I used to be. However, I've learned so much. Give thanks for learning, because with my 2.5-year-old, I'm like, tell her, no, don't come to me. You go and talk to uncle. Do you know what I mean? It's like that. I have learned. So what you're saying is very true, and it's a huge issue. And I'm not sure if that was because of I don't know if that was me thinking I was being a good parent by being, overprotective.
It's hard to get a balance. Because my son, like my daughter, she went to school, she's just autonomous, she does what she's doing. My son, on the other hand, he's a bit more like me, he's a bit of a character, he's a bit of a joker. He's not a naughty child, but he's always in there on their radar. Because he stands out, he's 8 foot tall.
Wow.
So he's only like 6'4". He's tall. Your friend down here could be messing, they can't see him. You're up here, they can see everything that you're doing. So he stands out. And then also his response, so when they tell him something and he gets into his, gets in his feelings, it's intimidating for them. So I found, like you, I'm always charging in to protect him, but not to protect him because I made the school know I'm on your side.
Right.
We're working together on this, and if he's out of line, then he's going to get it, and you're going to be able to punish him.
Right.
But on the other side of it, they know I'm following it through. I'm going to find out what are you writing down. What is he excluded for? Like I want a statement. I want to know. They always get a letter. Like if you've given him an exclusion, you'll get a letter back to put on file. So they know that I am going to come. I'm not just going to let it go, and I'm going to follow through. But then it's hard, because then it's like sometimes you feel like you want to support and trust your child, but then you've got to try and get the balance between fighting their corner and...
but as you said, it's the balance, and as you said, you will go in there and you will challenge them, and because you know the system so well, you will do that.
Yeah.
I think where it goes very wrong is a lot of parents who don't know the system, or a lot of parents who are intimidated by the system. And you know, when we were growing up, our teachers will say, Claudine did X, and our parents will say, really? Okay, wait until you get home. Right? The school was always right.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we've gotten to the era, we are
like,
different parents.
Yeah.
Now you're saying Claudine did, and we're like, really? Okay, and she did because what?
And
what was the
and where
trigger?
were you standing? And what was the context? And why didn't you write that? How
where's
come
the
you didn't
evidence?
tell me? And I want to see the reports and the CCTV.
Right,
But
exactly.
We're different
So
parents.
true.
We're totally different parents, and we will take them all the way there.
But we've got a conscious understanding of the flaws in the system as well, because we're much more, our eyes are much more open.
But not all
But then
of
it
us.
gives not all of us, some of us.
And that's where I come in. That's where my organisation comes in, because I'm trying to train parents to be that vigilant parent. Whatever the school tells you, don't take it as gospel.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to be excluded, okay, you're going to be excluded. Tell me why. Show me the evidence. Who else was there? Where's your investigation? When was that investigation done? You know, but a lot of parents will say, "Oh, we got it. Oh, yes, only 2 days. We'll do it." No,
Yeah.
it's
No,
not
I
only 2
want to
days.
know. It's
Because
going on
it's
your
actually
file.
on your, it's a
And this
record
is
on
going
your
on
file.
your file. And this is what my son, he will tell me something. Oh, this happened. It's nothing. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Wait. Rewind. And start all over again. I want to know ins and outs. And then he'll be like, no, it's all sorted out. And then the next day you'll go in and it's all on the computer
Yeah,
file.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
at one stage, a teacher did something to him. He was doing something wrong. He took his bike. He had to get his report signed, but he took his bike into the school.
Right.
A teacher saw him and said, "What are you doing? You shouldn't have your bike in here. I'll get my report signed." And she left him. Then a support worker came and saw him. Get out! Get your bike out! And he's like, "Wait, why are you telling the big man wait? You shouldn't have told him wait." But then what the teacher's done is he's grabbed the bike
You see.
and ripped
all
up
of
the
that,
bike,
yeah.
and then end up catching it on his trousers, and he ended up ripping his
Yeah,
trousers.
but the question is, was there a need to behave in this way?
The
Exactly.
teacher, remember?
Yeah.
No, he got fired. When I
Good.
finished with them, they
Yeah.
had to let him go. But I came down on my son as well, because at the end of the day, somebody's lost their job. There was a young black man who's in the school trying to teach. So while it's not a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have been on report. You
Yeah.
were. You should have been inside the school. You should have had your bike locked. Why are you bringing your bike in the school? Why are you telling the man wait?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
These are
that's-
all things that are down to you, but his actions meant that.
I reacted.
But
He reacted in the way
your-
that he
yeah,
reacted.
your response sounds really balanced. Really balanced. Like you've made him aware of what
You're doing.
What
It's
your,
somebody's
what
whole
your
life,
part to
your-
play. Yeah, and that's so important because you're taking him out of himself
Yeah.
to have a look at the implications of his actions actually on other people. That's something that I find children don't automatically do.
Yeah.
And that's important for him to learn. So it makes him think how his actions are going to affect other people. But then also, the teacher was completely in the wrong.
But if I
Completely
didn't
wrong.
follow up on what he was saying, if I went with what he said, no, it's all right, mum. He would have
Yes.
gone in, it would have gone on his file, and I would not have known
And there was
anything
nothing
about
else.
it. And then
Right.
next time, when he gets into something, they'll say, oh, on this day.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, but wait.
Yeah.
And
I
this is
didn't know
what
nothing about
parents,
it.
you have to find out what they're writing on their files, because what happens is everything gets logged. Everything's getting logged. Every little single incident. When I look at my son's file, I'm like, what? What are all these things?
Yeah.
Well, you see, that's really interesting because I visited a school in South Norwood yesterday with a parent. And before we went to the meeting, I said to her, okay, let's make an appointment and we're going to go look at your son's file, 6 years old. And the secretary brought the file and she gave it to us. There were 5 pieces of paper in this file. And I was like, that's not a file. She's like, oh, no, this is the file. No, that's not a file. No, this is the
What if
file.
you're going to be excluding them?
But apparently
Exactly.
what they do in that school is they keep certain things in the paper file and they put everything else on
This database.
the database. So you now as the parent have to go in on the database and have a
Make it-
look. But even when
Oh.
mum went in on the database, all the information that we were looking for, considering that you've excluded this little man 4 times in 6 weeks,
Oh, wow.
where's all that information?
Oh wow,
But it
at
has
6
a
years
paper trail for
old.
me.
Right.
Yeah.
But there weren't no paper trails.
Then you ain't excluding them.
Right? There was no paper
100%.
trail. There was four pieces,
No.
and the information that you've got in this file is information that mum had already. What we wanted to know, because as you said, not only are they writing about your child and your child's behaviour and how he came to school and how he was presented, they're also documenting about you. You've also got the information about your parents' evening.
Right.
So where is the rest of this file?
Yeah.
And by the time we finished, they were running around. No, we can find it, but why is it not there in the
Right.
first place? So this is what I'm saying. If you
Counselling
don't
exclusion.
know, right? This is what happens. So another parent would have gone in there, you would have said, yes, this is the father. They'd have said, okay, thanks
Would
very
have
much.
believed them.
And you would have taken it as gospel.
Yeah.
So you've got to know. Parents have got to get on board that the way in which the education system at the moment is treating the children is ridiculous. Remember, at the moment in the UK, we've got almost 8,000 children who are excluded, and that's the 8,000 children that we know about.
We are running out of time, so I'm going to give you, I'm not going to give you all of it, but this is a poem that I've done called Bar Bar Black You that I wrote. I wrote it after being at work, really, being frustrated. So, Bar Bar Black You, how you doing in school? Don't let the system take you for a fool. Labelled by your teacher, disruptive and a pain. They'll note down all your incidents and flush you down the drain. Managed, moved or excluded, they'll send you to approve. The saddest fact is, you'll probably think it's cool. Until it dawns on you, the chances you have lost. As now you're in a school where it's always popping off. Frail basic lessons that don't stimulate your brain. You'll wish you were back in mainstream with your old friends again. But now you're stuck in a provision where there's no way out. You'll be so disheartened, you'll challenge and you'll shout. When you try to focus, you'll be surrounded by the hype. You'll be sucked into the drama. You'll be nurtured to that type. Of course you will be learning, but your curriculum is flawed. Playing with your future, taking risks you can't afford. 12 years in education, and when year 11's done, will you get your GCSEs, or will you leave with none? Alternative provisions and schools of special need are like breeding grounds for the corruption of our seed. But that's not the problem. It starts much before. The system is designed to ensure our youth won't score.
Wow.
So that's
And that's it in a
That was-
nutshell.
yeah, exactly,
And that's it in a
exactly.
nutshell. That's exactly what's happening to our children. And as you said, especially when they're excluded. And as I said, this government have created a two-tier education system. And what we need to do is once we've sent our children into mainstream education, we need to keep our fingers on the pulse. We need to keep our eye on the ball. We need to be proactive. We need to learn how to challenge the schools in a very positive way. Meet them
Positive way,
at their
key.
that's
yeah,
key.
in a very
And,
positive
yeah.
way, because
The
a lot of
language
us
that
need-
you use,
Right.
and like don't cut. It's like I had a parent come in one day. She wasn't even from my school. My students from the Pru had been beating up her daughter every single time they saw her, and she didn't know what to do. So she's come there to speak to her. She's like, she wants to talk to the parents, but she's come to the school, and obviously they can't speak to her and they can't let her in. So she's having a fit, and I've come there, and then the police have been called, and I've had to grab her and say, listen,
Yeah.
what you're doing is not helpful for you.
Right.
You have to think about your tone. You have to do it on
Yeah.
paper.
You must.
Like you're better off writing a letter,
There's
because
protocol.
when people got
Yeah.
a certain piece of paper that you're putting on file,
Right.
they pay attention.
Exactly.
If you go to the school and you're like, oh, what are you doing with my child? As soon as you've got the wrong tone in your
Yeah.
voice, the wrong body language,
Yeah.
the wrong colour on your skin,
Right.
you get stereotyped in the same way. Oh, that's why
As
the
your
child's
child-
like that.
Exactly.
And then the police are
Right.
called, and then
Right.
you're arrested, and then
Yeah.
you're the criminal outside the
Yeah.
school. You're looking around like, how did this actually
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we think about, and you have the classes, and what you're doing as well with the with Womanhood Academy and training people how to understand how to navigate the system and how to work within it. Because as soon as you raise your voice, and it's the same thing that I say to my students, as soon as you raise your voice, doesn't matter how much sense you're making, no one ain't listening.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to know how to deliver it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
right.
power of the pen is key, and that's what I would
Right.
There
say.
you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
It's all got to be
So
documented, like you
is.
say.
But as you said, you were saying from a very young age, it's teaching them, We run a program in schools called consequential thinking, and it's just that. It's teaching them that for every action, good boy, bad or indifferent, there is a reaction,
So
and what's that reaction
important.
going to be?
So important.
You know,
and to take
so it's stop
responsibility.
making these excuses for them as babies, but teaching them every action has
So
a reaction.
true.
As they get older, instead of making that excuse for their behaviour, oh, Stephen told me we were going to go down here. It's like the other day when all these so-called school children broke into the JD and robbed it. You know, your child wouldn't have been there because your child would realise that every action has a reaction.
Catch you. You better, and that's what he does. He's that one now, but now he still needs to get balanced because now he's that one. Things will happen. Oh, I wasn't there. I was standing by the side. No, don't stand by the side.
Yeah, right.
You're
somewhere else.
guilty.
I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah,
But yes, so anyway, we've got into a whirlwind discussion. And we haven't really,
And we haven't really even touched it.
anything else. But I was going to say, what I know you do the Womanhood Academy, but you also do other things.
I
like,
also do poetry,
Yes.
and I also do Ebony Love.
which is lovely. I love the idea. So tell me a little bit about Ebony Love.
So Ebony Love is basically an event that we do monthly, and it's predominantly, we would say it's aimed at black people because it's Ebony Love, because we're just all about, as we've been talking about, community, creating a healthy family unit for our children, for ourselves. It is actually a dating event, but what we have put in place is a panel type of event, and that's what we've been doing for the first, I think we've done 5 events now, 5, and that's just to make sure that the people that are coming in, and when we do introduce the dating events and stuff like that, that it's intentional. So we call it intentional dating.
What do you mean by intentional?
Intentional is the opposite of Tinder and the opposite of
So it's not just about shoot.
it's
shoot,
not, yeah,
and then
basically, yeah. Not that Tinder doesn't have success stories, because I've heard some that are really successful, but I know that the trend is just to find somebody to hook up with. If it works, right, exactly. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, whatever. We want people coming with an intention. I know myself, therefore I know what I'm looking for in a partner. I know what I can offer. I'm doing my healing. I'm working on myself. It's intentional, rather than you try to figure out who you are while you're trying to understand someone else,
know yourself,
and create a relationship.
That's what we're talking about, the trauma and the healing.
Exactly. So this is what we address. So we've had dear women, we've had dear men, and in these events, like it's crazy the amount of things that come out. We've had dear self, where you address the trauma that you've gone through, the things that that you're accountable for. Where did you mess up? When did you sabotage yourself? When were you the toxic person in your relationship? Yeah.
Toxic in there. I need to purge.
But this is it. We all do. That's the beautiful thing. We all do. None of us are perfect. We're all work in progress. But it is being true to yourself, and then only then can you be true to another person and say, you know what, this is who I am. Because many times we meet someone and we're just putting our best self forward. We're going in like this, sideways, like this is my best angle, instead of just being like, you know what, this is all of me. This is where I'm at. This is my good. This is my bad. This is
why I'm single, because this is what I do. Because I think I was in a relationship for a long time, and then I got out and I had my little wild period. Now I'm centered, but I'm not willing to, like, when I meet someone, I'm not willing to, not even a compromise. I don't mind compromising, but I'm not going to hide parts of myself.
good.
I'm not going to be like, well, I like this. I've got this kid. I've got this.
You can see
guys. I want them.
Get this side.
You need to see all of them. I'm like, guys, look at me. And they're like, whoa, yeah, you're a bit much. But maybe I'll find that I might have to come along to the intentional date. I might scare the guys. I'm like, no, please.
Okay, so how do you get into this intentional? Because we're definitely intentional. So how do you get into this intentional?
Okay, so basically, it's for men, it's free, because we're trying to. Yeah. Okay, talk to me about that response, ladies. Talk to me about that.
No, I don't know. I get
a lot of time.
You want to get the men in there,
right?
because
And they do women's free for raves all the time when they're trying to get in there.
I was just about to say, when they want, we do have a lot of freeness, we do have a lot
Yeah.
of privilege that we have to recognise as ladies.
Fair
They do,
enough.
yeah. Do you know what I mean? So we thought,
Okay.
okay, let's appeal, let's appease
Yes,
our
yeah,
So
yeah.
do you get,
recognise our
I mean,
kings.
you get some nice
Do you know what? Do you know
cheapskate
what?
men?
No, tell us about the
Not
quality
cheapskate.
who you had so
Do
far.
they buy the
quality
drinks?
of no, this is it. No. Yeah, I've had a couple of drinks, but no, the quality of men is very, very good because you're not going to get a man, yeah, and all of that.
You
And
got
all
my
of that. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, come next time.
Because
So that's
their head
Tinder,
is, yeah. The next event is on the 26th, so you need to come.
My daughter's
But oh really? It's my mom's birthday as well. But I'm going to take her out the day after. Come down.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically, you're not going to get a guy coming in just for fun. You're going to get somebody because everybody knows what the event is about and what it's geared towards. And we're not doing the dating, singles dating mixers at the moment. We're doing these events where you sit down, you talk, you reason, you share, and yourself as well. So you're going to get a man that is very introspective, has a progressive outlook, wants to grow. Do you understand? And that's what we're aiming for men and women to be in the same space and just be exploring and getting used to talking to each other and around each other.
Yeah, and that's it, communication.
Communication, because you'll be surprised what somebody says, what a man says, and what a woman receives. You'll say it back to him, and he'll be like, "No, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that." And then from there, sometimes you'll find a shutdown. Usually, if it's a one-on-one, sometimes I've heard something, and I'll be like, "Okay, so did you mean blah blah blah?" And they're like, "No," and get frustrated, and then that might be the end of our conversation. Whereas in these spaces, we facilitate those. I'm the host, so I facilitate. I facilitate. Yeah, me. Yeah, I facilitate that, and we kind of work our way around until we do reach an understanding, and we're understanding each other.
I mean, I've been saying I want to get to the to one of the events, but I'm so busy. But I am gonna come.
What's your
to
age
one.
group?
We don't have an age range.
So what's the oldest men that
She's
you
thinking, come on.
I'm
we've
trying
got
to
age
think.
range, you know.
Okay, from what I've seen, I'm not good at guessing ages, but we've had, I'd say, the oldest 60s.
Okay,
60s.
because I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be.
So you've got your
cougar out here.
professional.
All these, I go all these
So
little
what's your
25. I'm
age
40.
range? So you're 40,
So,
but what kind of age range do you go
I
for?
would say maybe like, I don't think I could go less than like 10. I get a lot of young ones coming up to me when I go out, and
I
I'm
can
like,
imagine.
wow.
So you say you
It's not fair. It's
so
not fair. It's not fair for me to do what I want to do. So I try to have like a 10-year with no cut off.
Really?
And then older, I don't know. I haven't really dated that much older. I wouldn't mind dating an older man, but he has to be firm though. 'Cause I like the muscles.
But you know, when you say no less than 10, you know what jumps in my mind? You know when we were at school, they say girls mature quicker than men. So when you're going 10 years younger, how mature is he? Because you're looking at a 30-year-old.
But this is what I'm saying. But I'm just limited because I get a lot of them the people that come to me. Especially when I go out and I'm dressed, I look younger than I am.
Yeah.
The people that I interact with, I get 25 years, I'm like, guys, seriously?
Yeah.
28, and I'm like,
So
Put
do you
another
not
2
even
years on
give
that.
them? Do you not even give them an opportunity to get to know them, or do you just?
not
is it
really.
just no? You've got your.
there's too many.
cut off.
I haven't really got the time or the patience to have those kind of interactions. And then for someone that age, what they want, well, I know what they want, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get to them.
Yeah.
So it's like, at the moment, I'm actually very, very single, and I'm not really interacting because it's not like I wouldn't say it's a waste of time. I'm a bit of a cynic. I'm not even sure. I've said to people, I don't know if I believe in love anymore. Like, and everyone's looking at me like, oh girl,
Yeah.
okay. But no, you see the pain in their face. But I'm not saying, I don't know. It's a myth. Like, I don't know. So I'm kind of like, if the fairy tale comes, I'll grab it, and I am open to it. But if I'm gonna find someone that gets me, that's mentally on my mental intellect, spiritual, freaky, because that has to be part of the package, physically attractive, financially secure, open-minded. Like,
Yeah.
Where is he at? So it's that one where, and then the interactions that I do have, it's like, I'm sitting there thinking, this is seriously. It's like it's so like either one dimensional.
Where
or
do you
shallow.
meet them? Where do you meet them?
I mean, nowadays I'm meeting lots of different people from different places. A lot of previously, sometimes when I'm partying and going out, so obviously that's why you get those kind of people.
Yeah.
But to find like somebody my age who is in the right mindset and secure enough in themselves to handle me, because a lot of men it's difficult for them. Like, where you going? Just like that? Are you in the limelight? You're doing modelling. You can't.
Yeah.
You want me to sit in a corner and I'm not going to do it.
Do you find that? So is that with older men that you have those types of experiences, or is it just men in general?
I think sometimes it's men in general. I think it depends on how secure they are in themselves.
Right.
And as you said, Nat, you know, when you're out there in the public and you're in the limelight and you've got this going on and that going on, and they've got to be secure within themselves to do your journey with you and know that it's okay. Yeah. But also, as she said, they've got to be secure financially. They've got to, you know, I'm not going to move away from who I am to accommodate you. There ain't no compromising here.
No.
So I think I'm way past
willing
that
to
part where
compromise.
I'm not giving you my
Yeah.
shoulder,
Lose
but I'm giving you the
yourself
whole
for someone
arm.
else. No,
And then
you
it's
can't.
sometimes it's too like men find me intimidating because I am very forthright. I'm very open. I'm very in touch with my sexuality. Sometimes it's a lot. Like, they're like, whoa, it's way too much.
Yeah.
Just so. Do I have to mute myself? And I found I did that a lot in my relationship, where I feel like I'm not that. When you're in a relationship, I find as a woman, you almost have to turn yourself down a notch in a way to respect the man's ego in a lot of ways. Yeah. Whereas when you're like as a single woman or when I'm on my own, I walk with my head up and I deal with the attraction with banter and you know, a little flirtation. But when you've got a man, it's like, well, I have to, you know, I can't be soliciting attention. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't be too loud. So there's like.
So was that you before, or in your growth now? Would you?
I know how to keep a man happy.
Right. How do you keep a man happy, girl? Let's spill it. With my pen. Like, first of all,
tend to his ego. Basically, make him feel secure. But then, what happens when you're doing that? You're not making yourself happy. I know how to make you feel comfortable within yourself. I know how to please you sexually. I know how to make you to feed your belly. I know how to keep you happy. But then, I'm almost not being myself, because if I'm my loud, vivacious, in your face character, that's also offensive. Well, why are you soliciting attention? Why are you flirting? Why are you smiling up in a man's face? I'm not smiling.
Yeah, but
you're like, smile, what do I do? Like, tuck my belly in, stuck in the tea. Sorry. We're running out of time. Oh my god.
Can I just quickly ask?
Go on.
So if he was acting like how you act, how would you?
What do you mean?
How would you respond? So if he was speaking to other ladies, harmless, but go for it, right? Okay.
I'm very secure in myself. So if you want her, you will go for her. If you really want me, then and you know where your bread butters and you will come home.
That's exactly
and
my
approach.
Very that's how I feel
but
about it.
It doesn't always work the same way. So. I'm gonna ask you: Are you saving your poem, or are you gonna be sharing?
I could do
some of your fire because this lady, all the other stuff that she's doing, she is amazing. But her poetry,
oh, bless
penetrates. Was a line that one of your poems that I put on to promote. Was it? Penetrates the chakra. Penetrate the sacral chakra like a West Indies breeze.
Yeah.
I was like, whoo!
Yeah, I read that. Made me laugh. Yeah, the guys did like that one. They did.
So you're gonna share a little bit.
I am, and I think I'll keep in theme with what our conversation has been about, which was predominantly about the children, the next generation, etc., etc. This has kind of got a Black History Month feel to it as well. I actually performed this last month in a school that I did a workshop in with years 10 to 11, I believe, and they really liked it. They were like, "Miss, you got bars." So and I think they were a bit shocked as well. Yeah.
Well, give it a bars then before the first starts.
Okay. So, would you excuse me just one moment while I gather my truth? As a matter of fact, I couldn't give a damn if I sound uncouth. The time has come and I'm dragging off my new Celeste. Flip the script, now you're the Negro's bitch. It's your tears and fears that make my people rich, so roles reverse, let's rebound the curse. I got goons lynching coons and no need for proofs because the shaman are teaching our star seeds in schools. I'm honey complected, but I got tar black molasses in me. It was the ancestors that dragged me into this particular epiphany now. Would you believe that I had a dream? It was this generation that set our people free. Listen good, I pray that you feel me. I got this message and I beg you let me land it neatly. I'm saying rise up kings and rise up queens. The shackles are loose but the psyche needs to free. This is not a request, it's until spiritual death. I won't stop shelling till I have nothing left. This is pure truth but it sounds like a threat. It's little old me with a blade to master's neck. It's no wanty, it's more like a need. History living in me like my next sweet seed. I got a whole nation to feed, but fret no need, we're all gonna eat. We are the true warriors, so we must succeed. So let today be that day we all say, I declare and decree it's our time to lead. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you so much.
Blessings,
you lot have both been
blessings.
amazing. It's been so lovely to
It's been
chat with
awesome.
you.
It's been awesome.
Such powerful minds, and what you're actually doing in the community is having such impact. So, you know, like I like to see it as I plant seeds. I might never see the oaks. I might never see them. But you lot are out there planting seeds, impacting lives, and people are going to remember you for the things and the input that you've had in their lives. So I'll thank you.
Thank you.
In advance
Thank you for having
from
us.
them.
It's been awesome, and this connection is
It's
great.
Just so
yeah.
lovely.
It's
lovely
awesome.
to do this. We have to come back for do a ladies' panel
Yeah,
show.
we have to.
But is there any thank yous, acknowledgements that you would like to send out there to anybody?
Thank me.
Yeah, why not?
Me.
Why not?
Being
Why
me.
not?
I like to
Okay.
thank me for being me. But I'd like to also thank everybody who's bought the book, Guns, Gangs and the Implications for Social
Where
Workers.
can we get that book?
It's actually on Amazon.
Oh, is it? Awesome.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can get a signed copy on Amazon. But, you know, although it says Guns, Gangs and the Implications for Social Workers, a lot of people came up and said, but Claudia, is it about social workers? But no, it's not.
Okay.
So no, although it's being used in the universities and a teaching tool for
Amazing.
social workers, a lot of doctors have bought it, a lot of GPs, a lot of medics in the hospitals have bought it, because it basically talks about how we engage with our children and young people. So I'd like to publicly thank everybody who's bought
I'm
a
gonna
copy
buy
of the
it.
book.
Yeah,
And,
that's
you know,
awesome.
let's just keep building our children and young people. Let's rebuild that village and community around them, because without us, we don't have them, you know. I keep saying to parents, we are our children's heroes.
Oh,
Let's keep
blessings.
doing that.
Yeah, that's so sweet. It's true.
But thank you.
And Princess or Queen?
Yes, oh, thank you,
Queen.
my darling. Blessings. I'd like to thank Womanhood Academy, my partner in crime, co-director, Peaches Presents.
Peaches?
Yeah,
Lovely.
yeah. She's another driving force behind
amazing.
Womanhood Academy.
We'll be having her on the
She's
show
yeah,
too.
you
We'll have to get
must.
her.
She is awesome. And Ebony Love, the Ebony Love team. I love them, and I can't wait till our event on the 26th. Please come down, ladies.
But if I don't get to that one, I'll come to the next. Tell me the date and I'll put it in my diary.
Okay, sure. And Womanhood Academy, follow us on We Are Womanhood Academy on Facebook, and email us on wearewomanhoodacademy@gmail.com. I remembered it.
And I would like to thank everybody who's been watching and following. It's been such a brilliant journey. I'm really loving doing the show.
It's
and
amazing.
working
You're
with people.
amazing.
Thank
You're
you so
amazing.
much.
What you're doing is
At
awesome.
the moment, I'm looking for sponsors for the show. I want to keep the show a free show. I don't want to have to charge people to come on. So I'm looking
Amazing.
for sponsorship. So if anybody's interested in sponsoring the
Sponsor
show,
her.
I'm also going to be starting a GoFundMe to get this show on the road. So this is naturally, I've really enjoyed the show today.
Amazing.
Tune in next week when we've got another fantastic show, and every Wednesday after. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Amazing.
Wake the streets up. Yeah. with the chop, no chop. Infrared. This, you know, you are just having fun, isn't it? Smile. Let me know you are happy with me. You can always tell what somebody drove to a comedy show by the way they sit down. That brother in Agbada, they please stand up for recognition. See, they are clapping for you. They didn't know you came with Uber. Range Rover, isn't it? I just want to make you happy a bit. You know, she's here. You know, just to I see you adjusted your shoulder. Who bought the VIP? You or her? Just let me see who else is in there. I see the brother we have there. I see your cap. Respect, boss. I'm in his face, yeah? Because you don't know who's watching.